So James Ryan is linking up with ALDI and their Play Rugby Sticker campaign. I'll give you more details about that campaign in due course. Brilliant prize on offer. Very happy to say James Ryan joins us on the line. Good evening to you. Thanks for the time.
Good to be here.
Let's start with the most important issue. You were party to maybe the slowest version of Ireland's call in history at the weekend.
Yeah. I don't know how, you've got a job. I don't know how I got that wrong. But yeah, I don't know what was happening. It was like people in the crowd were way ahead of us. The guys next to me were behind me, and they just ended up just not singing anymore because it was just chronic.
Yeah.
So it's a shame.
I can imagine. Hard to know what to do here. Do we keep singing at our own pace? Do we slow down to their crazy pace, or do we just, as some understandably did, just abandon ship halfway through? I think you manfully carried on to the end.
Yeah, I carried on to the end, I think, and then Porter was standing next to me, and he abandoned ship. So I think I stayed on to the end, but yeah, it wasn't great.
No, listen, you're the captain. You have to keep going there. There's no getting off that ship. Talk to us about Italy. There is no doubt that they are seriously improving. Can you give us a sense specifically how, in what ways are they a very different challenge to 2-3 years ago?
Well, I think they're one of the best attacking sides we've faced in quite a while, to be honest. Particularly their attack has really come on. You can see how ambitious they are to play. Even in the lead up to the game, against England, against France, they're playing deep inside their own 22. Again, same against us. So they just play a good brand of rugby, and they like to play quick. They like to play the space. So defensively, it was a really tough game for us. So that's probably one area they've improved a lot. The other area I think is probably the set piece. The scrummaging wise, they're quite good. They kind of drove the England pack back a few times to Twickenham, which is no easy feat in the scrum, and they were good against us as well. Some of their maul defence was very good as well. We had a number of cracks, and they were hard to break down. So up front, they're strong. But as I said, obviously, they've a seriously good attack as well, and some genuinely world-class players. I think like Capuccio is obviously one that sticks out. He's a seriously good player. Saw how good a Garbisi is. We know that. He loves to play at the line, play flat. Lamaro is another good player. So they've some good up-and-coming players as well.
Yeah, great for the tournament. I mean, to have them improving and playing such a brilliant brand is wonderful. From the Irish team's perspective, not least when the Grand Slam is vaguely on the horizon and there's a lot to lose in a game like Saturday if it goes awry. It was very striking, 4 points in the game. The team, Ireland that is, didn't seem to tighten up or feel that pressure, scored a brilliant team try. That must be a very pleasing aspect to come through a tetchy few moments like that. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, well, the last try was brilliant for us. It was one of the best team tries I think we've had. But to be honest, I thought we were a bit unlucky to be going in at half time 24-17 up. I thought we'd left a couple of scores out there. Obviously, they got that intercept, and all of a sudden the game felt very close, 24-20. But I think what I put it down to is probably just some of the messages at half time. What we said was, the game was close, but we want to be tested. You know what I mean? This is where we want to be. So some of the messages at half time were very much just stick to our process, stick to our game, because we felt certainly when we had the ball that we were putting them under a lot of pressure, and it was just the very final piece, whether that was a disled try, a knock on, that we were just letting them off the hook. But we just said, look, if we could hold on to the ball, stick to our game, build pressure, then we felt like we could, if we kept turning the rock, then we'd eventually break them. So obviously, that's the way. It was very tough, but that's the way it turned out in the end. We managed to build a bit of a score. So I think just sticking to our game and keep believing that our attack would would eventually wear them down.
Must be an enjoyable attack to be part of over the last while. The demands on your skill set, on your handling, on your ability to make good choices, I presume those demands have increased dramatically of late.
Yeah, and it is enjoyable. Probably a lot of it is down to the way we train. Like we train very quick, but and the detail around some of our shapes. You know, I mean, a lot of teams play shapes, but just the detail understanding of how the right shapes will break down in opposition. So yeah, it's enjoyable, and then obviously. Everyone's got to be involved in the attack. That's what we say, even when the ball is not near you, when the ball's away from you. How are you getting back involved into the game? So it's very much kind of all hands on deck, and 1 to 15, everyone's got a role to play in terms of breaking down the opposition. But yeah, no, it is an enjoyable. Yeah. It's an enjoyable attack to be involved in, because we all like to play rugby and get our hands on the ball and stuff like that. So
nice to score a try.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Lots of people have made the observation that you seem to be in a great personal vein of form. Sure, it's easier in a team that's going well, but do you feel like you phrase it how you want. Do you feel like you've come through a dip and now you're back to your best? Or am I wrong to call it a dip, given that there were injuries and other things going on? But would you agree that you're kind of back in a great place now, or how do you see your own form?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going well. To be honest, what I put that down to is, I haven't had any injuries or head injuries for quite a while. So I've just been playing much more regularly, and off the back of that, my confidence has grown. And probably my performance has gone all right as well. So, so yeah, just being lucky that I haven't been in and out of the game or had any long spells, or windows out of the game, and I've just been playing more regularly. So, so that's why I'm feeling good, and yeah, just enjoying being part of 2 very good teams with Leinster and Ireland.
I just glanced back in advance of talking to you to see what a desperate run you were on with injuries. It was like as bad as it gets, really, and it must have been very difficult. 2021, there were head injuries against Wales and Scotland, rounds 1 and 4 of the Six Nations, several weeks out afterwards, and then the disappointment of missing the Lions. Then fast forward to November, fail a HIA against Argentina, out until December, and then last year's Six Nations, people will remember 11 months ago, the Charlie Ewells hit at Twickenham, red card, zero mitigation, like a terrible bang, and you could see, you were wobbly, and it was serious. Now you read that list out in that kind of a condensed period. That strikes anyone as incredibly difficult to come through. World Rugby Protocol enforce time away when they're that frequent, so you did spend some time away. Were you dealing with symptoms as well in the days and weeks after some of those injuries?
Yeah, no, it was tough. It was 4 and 6 months that particular season, so obviously that's why it took me a while. It felt like I could get my confidence back, but no, I wasn't dealing with any ongoing symptoms. For me, thankfully, anytime I've had a concussion, I've always recovered very quickly. So like really after 48 hours, I would feel fine for normal. So I've been lucky enough that I've always recovered quite quickly. And yeah, I mean that's why I'm feeling good, because for me, I love the kind of physical parts of the game, the tackle, the carry, the ruck.
Yeah.
And probably when you've got a number of head knocks, it takes you, even maybe subconsciously, a little bit of time to feel like you can express yourself the way you want to in those parts of the game. It's probably because you're afraid of the consequences of another knock, or what that would mean, or how long you would be out for, and all that. So, so that's why, as I said, I'm feeling good now, because thankfully I've had an injury-free run, and I feel like I can be, the player I want to be.
Because for you to be at your best, you have to throw yourself around with abandon. You can't be, as you said, on some kind of subconscious level trying to protect yourself. It's just not going to work. I mean, you can function, you can have a 6 out of 10 game, but it's not going to work from where the levels you want to hit. But like, very understandable. Like, the self-preservation instinct is a strong one. That would take a bit of getting over, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the parts of the game that I pride myself on. And it's where I see my game. It's all the physical parts of the game. So, that's why it takes you a little bit of time, because even if you're 1% off, that even makes a difference. As I said, I'm feeling good now, and there's a lot of work that's gone into it as well. Obviously, there's a bit of luck involved, and sometimes, you can't prepare for some of the knocks that you end up getting. I mean, that one against England, does obviously sticks out. There's nothing you could do there really that could, that you could have prepared for. But I've worked very hard in terms of mitigating risk, and I've not mentioned before, but I work very hard on my neck strength. Probably that's one part of my body that I train the hardest, the most consistently. I worked in the technical parts of the game, like the tackle tech and carry tech and all that kind of stuff. We wear gum shields now that basically are able to track the G-force in collisions. So I'd be pretty studious with that stuff and make sure that if I don't play for a while, say, I'm getting the exposures through the gum shield in the lead up to a game. So I'm not just playing a game. I've not played for a while, and all of a sudden there's this big increase in load. There's a number of different areas that I've worked hard on, along with some of the physios in Leinster and Ireland as well, to put myself in the best possible position. So thankfully it seems to be going all right.
Yeah, great. The neck muscle strength, presumably to minimise whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of science now that how much your neck protects you for the whiplash stuff, but and also when you do get a knock, if you've got a neck that is strong and is nice and robust, then you're not going to get your symptoms won't be as severe as they would have been otherwise, say if you had a weaker neck. And particularly for some of the taller guys who have just naturally longer limbs, longer necks and so on, they're probably actually more risk. That's been a big focus for me, training my neck.
Yeah. One last one on it. When the Yules one happens, because as you say, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself in a moment like that. You're vulnerable, you get hit, you can be as diligent as you want, you're in trouble. Given the run you had been on, I presume there must have been an emotional, be it in the seconds or minutes or hours afterwards, of, oh my God, what is happening here? How can I be on this run? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and it was tough because I was gutted after that one. Because, as I said, it was no different last year. I was still working unbelievably hard on all this stuff. Because I know that I didn't want to be out of the game. I hadn't had enough of that. It was frustrating then when I got another knock. But at the same time, like, sometimes, like, that's just the way the game is. Like, I took up a little bit of solace because I actually said, well, you know what, none of this was most recent knock, none of it was down to me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't, a tackle tech or a carry tech or just sloppiness that was the reason why I got this knock. It was completely out of my hands. So there was a bit of, look, it's out of my hands, and kind of keeping the faith and knowing that what I was doing was the right stuff and it was going to pay off eventually. So I kind of kept that in mind as well.
And so you've clearly taken like a comfort perhaps in being very diligent about this subject and been analytical about this subject. What about the worries when you see you know, you've got a long life ahead of you, and potentially things can go awry, and we've seen that with previous generations. The worries that you might have, or that your family have, or, yeah, does anyone say, do you need this? Like, maybe just take what you've done as a great career and park it. That whole discussion, does that happen in the Ryan household?
No, it's not. It's not happening because I think one thing that gives, you know, some of the physios and my own family confidence is they know, as he said, how analytical, how studious, how hard I work in terms of putting myself in the best possible position to minimise any risk. And, you know, obviously, I'm sure you've heard about this before, but we are looked after better now than at any point in the history of the game.
Yeah.
So we're looked after very well. And even those windows and spells that I had out of the game, you know, that's just an example because, you know, they didn't want to put me at risk, and they wanted to make sure that I had fully recovered before I stepped on the field again. And, you know, I saw a number of specialists at the time, and guys that are at the cutting edge of, you know, brain health. You know, one guy in Birmingham Hospital who's, you know, probably one of the best in the world, and it was off the back of their advice and their, you know, expert opinion that I was able to kind of, you know, navigate my path back to playing the game and stuff like that. So, so we had plenty of conversations with the very best, and they gave me the go ahead, and, you know, that's very much what that's what I would believe in and would base my opinion on would be these guys. And so I was delighted to get back out playing. And as I said, you know, it's been the last time I got knocked was the Evening game, so I've been on a good run, thank God.
Yes, long may it continue. Captaincy. I saw you say during the week that you're a lead by example type of captain. Put the fear of God into them, Paul O'Connell model. That's not you. That's not a place you go to, is it?
So I don't really know. I mean, like, yeah, I tried to lead by example. I think that's what the best captains I've played under do. Like, Johnny's one of them, and, you know, see how good he is, how consistent he is with his performance. I think obviously his words carry a lot of weight then off the back of that. So, yeah, I just try to lead by example in terms of my actions.
Yes, it would strike me as a tricky thing for a captain. Say you're, and dare say you will be in due course. If you're not playing well, I would think words out of your mouth might feel a touch hollow. You know, you'd like performance first, and I can't really tell. You know, give a halftime speech if I'm stinking the joint out.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's part of the most important piece of being a captain is making sure that you get your own performance right. And that you're consistent, because yeah, I mean, if you're not getting your own stuff right, and you're not performing well, then, as you said, your words aren't going to carry as much weight. So, obviously, doing what you say you're going to do is very important.
Something to ask you about on-field decisions. There was a lot of scrutiny about the decision to kick for the corner in Paris last year. Probably overanalyzed, but that's your lot now, and that's the way life is. The decision against Italy, and this, I don't know what the right or wrong decision here is, genuinely, so I'd love to get inside your thought process. It was early in the second half, and the game is back to 7 points, and on 2 occasions Ireland turned down the 3 just to nudge it out to 10. Later on you did actually kick a penalty to go 27-20, but in those 2 moments, say the one where it went to the corner and Ireland lost the line out, what's your logic there? Is that a 50-50 decision in your mind? Were you dead set this is the right thing to do, or how is that decision arrived at, James?
First thing I'd say is that it's very much a joint decision.
Right.
So myself, along with Ross, late half, and Hendy, who was the line-out leader on the weekend, kind of make the decision together, and that's kind of generally how that process works. Certainly between the head half and the line-out caller. And the first one, you know, we spoke, and we, you know, it wasn't an easy kick. There was quite a bit of length in it, so it was by no means a gimme. Like, and look, we felt like the right option was to go to the corner. After chatting, we did. The second decision, very easily could have gone either way. You know, we could have gone for the points as well, and it was an aggressive decision. to go for the corner. You know, what we felt at the time in terms of the feel out there was that like we were pounding the rock, and you know we had these guys. So that's why we decided to go for the corner, because we felt like we could come away with more than 3.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the decision there. And then, you know, the last chance, you know, we had, obviously when we went to the points then we said, look, we've had a few cracks at this now. Let's extend the lead to 7, because I felt we could, you know, we could back our defence not to concede a try at that point. So
yeah,
that was kind of the decision making behind it.
Totally understand. These are always popular talking points afterwards, and with the benefit of knowing how it turned out, which is a benefit, a luxury you don't have. How big a talking point are they in the review this week in camp? Will much time be spent on James, Ross, guys, give us your thoughts here, or is it not something that's talked about all that much?
I don't know. We'll have to see. But I would say one thing in Irish camp is not very outcome driven.
Yes.
Like it's very much process focused, and whatever decision we do make, how did we deliver that in terms of the process? You know, what actions did we deliver then off the back of whatever decision we made, as opposed to being purely outcome based.
Okay.
So you know, obviously went to the corner, we got turned over. So you know, I'm sure we'll have a look at these sorts of things. But yeah, I'm sure we might touch on it when we get back in on Wednesday.
Paul O'Connell's influence, he was obviously beyond impressive at the line out. Any specifics he's passed on to you?
Well, in terms of his influence, has been massive. Like specifics, obviously he's forwards coach, so I've learned a whole lot from the line out and the ruck. And then the line out stuff would just be like he's big on, we're big now on like max drill, we call it. So that's basically making sure everything from lift quality to jump quality to our speed across the floor, the gap and line out, the process, all those bits are world class. So definitely in terms of you know, max drill and the little details around the line out, you know, he's been unreal. And obviously the ruck as well. He's been brilliant in terms of meshing, quite like Joe.
I always got the impression he was a massive disciple of Joe Schmidt at the ruck.
Yeah, I think particularly around the ruck, you know, very like Joe, the way you know, they look at it, which is I think is the right way to look at it. So yeah, he's been brilliant. He's made a huge impact. I love working under him.
Yeah, I mean, Ireland's ruck speed is off the charts lately, so that aspect is going well. Just one last one, because you were good with your time. I think it's been well documented at this stage that on the night that Dr. Irwin and Brian O'Driscoll and Paul Rouse and Craig Doyle were in, that you stood up and said a few words. Why did you choose to get up and speak, and what did you speak about, James?
Well, why I did, because I knew they were coming in, and Paul Rouse was in as well. So he's a professor in history from UCD, and he's actually taught me with a few different modules, and he's brilliant. And he probably gave me a deep understanding of the history of the Irish rugby team and my perspective on you know, Ireland's call and the anthems and all that. So I just had a few conversations with some of the, like, my teammates in there, and Mick, our manager, and you know, they said, why don't you get up and speak a little bit about it? So I just talked a little bit about the history of the team. Like, you're looking at a team, you know, that look at the 20th century and even during the most kind of violent sectarian periods on the island, the Irish rugby team, you know, always managed to persist. I think that's probably the greatest achievement of Irish rugby. And there's a huge amount of strength. I think that can be drawn from that. Like, it's, I think it's a really special jersey. And then just talked a little bit about Ireland's call and, you know, how people seem to give out about it a little bit. But look, it might not ever win any Grammy awards, but that's not what it's created for. Do you know what I mean? It was intended to be inclusive, a compromise, and I think it's a song that people across the whole island can embrace and enjoy, so that's why I think it's important that we get behind it, because I think what it stands for. You know what I mean? It's inclusive, it's respectful, so yeah, it talked a little bit about Ireland's call and the history of the team, and we had a good night.
Yeah, no, well, a lot of people have said you spoke brilliantly. Is that something you would have felt comfortable doing 2018, 19? I haven't spoken to you in a couple of years. You seem like very confident in yourself, happy with where you are in your career. Is that something you would have done at 23, 24?
I got up and I talked about it. Like, if I felt strongly enough about it, which I do, well, yeah, I probably would have. But yeah, probably I wouldn't have had the same appreciation or understanding, I don't think, for it then as I do now.
That on account of your degree?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, my degree and learning about it was what has given me like more of an understanding and better perspective. And Paul Rice was probably another guy as well. Not that I knew nothing. I've always loved history, and so I always knew a little bit. But definitely when I looked into it and I read more about it, it's gone actually. That's a really powerful story here that I don't think people are, as aware of as they should be. So yeah, I was delighted to get up and talk about it for a couple of minutes, and
yeah.
It was very powerful having David Irwin in there as well, and the sacrifices that people like him made to wear the jersey, in those times, and having Paul Rice come in there as well and give guys an understanding was cool too.
Yeah, but Paul has been a regular in this studio, and I mean, he's such a brilliant speaker. He could read the phone book and it would somehow be interesting. So when he's dealing with that kind of material, I can imagine how good that was.
Yeah.
I guess not to rerun this because you've talked about this so much, but I'm sure people are generally aware of your great grandfather as well, and that's the James Ryan as well, isn't it? Your great grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So even a cursory glance. I mean, extraordinary medical officer at the GPO in 16. I was reading one of the last to leave with James Connolly after the evacuation, imprisoned till August, anti-treaty, imprisoned in 1922, where he went on hunger strike for 36 days, won his Dáil seat back in prison, and subsequently goes on to be minister's agriculture, social welfare, and ultimately Minister for Finance under Lemass in the 50s. So, I mean, that is extraordinary.
Yeah, and like it was his story, and it wasn't just him. I mean, several members of that family were all very active around the time of the Easter Rising and the subsequent War of Independence. So quite a nationalist family, and yeah, it was definitely I was hearing these stories from my dad and my uncles and stuff kind of as a young fella, and that was probably what sparked my interest in history, Irish history. Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of that kind of part of my family, and as you said, just a kind of a cool for our family name to have played a little part in the Irish, the Easter Rising and the Irish War of Independence as well.
Yeah, to say the least. I'm sure you saw Leo Cullen has signed a contract extension, by the way. I feel like I should mention that to you. Yeah, you knew that was coming, did you?
Which?
That Leo Cullen has signed a contract extension.
Sorry, you woke up there. I didn't actually know it was coming. I wasn't sure, but I presumed and I was hoping that he was going to stay on. So I saw this morning that he signed on for the 2 years, which is great.
Okay, good stuff. Fascinating chatting with you. Delighted to see you playing such great rugby. Obviously, 2 massive matches left, and then an exciting year ahead. So I'm sure we'll check in at some stage. James Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot.
That is James Ryan speaking to us. He is the Irish Rugby International ambassador for ALDI's Play Rugby Sticker campaign. So it's encouraging primary schools, an amazing prize, by the way. It's encouraging primary schools across Ireland to enter their sticker competition. The ultimate prize is a sports facility makeover worth €50,000. So whoever comes out on top there, an amazing thing. A sports facility makeover worth €50,000. As well as that, if you spend €25 at Aldi stores nationwide, you're in with a chance to win your weekly shop paid for, and also tickets to Ireland, England at the Aviva Stadium, 18th of March. For more information on that, you can check out aldi.ie/playrugby. So aldi.ie/playrugby, the place to go.